Welcome back to our BCBA mock exam channel. Today we're breaking down a high-frequency BCBA exam topic, group contingencies. In applied behavior analysis, group contingencies refer to systems where reinforcement is delivered to a group of individuals based on specific behavioral criteria. There are three main types you must be able to discriminate: independent group contingency, dependent group contingency, and interdependent group contingency. Each type differs based on who earns reinforcement and how the outcome is determined. This topic is heavily tested because it requires strong discrimination skills and reinforcement logic. And if you want to practice identifying these differences in real exam scenarios, you can check out our mock exams at www.bcbmockexam.com. Group contingencies are widely used because they are efficient behavior management systems. Instead of delivering reinforcement individually, they allow practitioners to influence multiple learners simultaneously. They are especially common in classroom and group settings, which is why they show up frequently in BCBA exam scenarios. From an exam perspective, this topic tests your understanding of reinforcement contingencies and outcome logic. A key takeaway here is that group contingencies are often cost-effective interventions, making them practical in real-world settings. Let's define group contingencies more formally. A group contingency is a systematic arrangement in which reinforcement is delivered to a group based on the behavior of one or more members of that group. There are two key components in this definition. First, reinforcement is delivered at the group level. Second, the delivery of that reinforcement depends on individual behavior, group behavior, or both. Group contingencies are used to influence multiple learners at once and can target different response patterns depending on how the contingency is structured. To design an effective group contingency, there are four essential components. First, the target behavior must be clearly defined. This ensures that everyone understands what behavior is being reinforced. Second, the group must be clearly identified. You need to specify who is included in the contingency. Third, the contingency rule must be explicitly stated. This includes when and how reinforcement will be delivered. Fourth, the reinforcer itself must be clearly specified. A common mistake is having vague criteria. If the rules are unclear, the intervention will be inconsistent and less effective. There are three types of group contingencies, and they differ based on how reinforcement is delivered. In an independent group contingency, each individual earns reinforcement independently. In a dependent group contingency, the entire group's outcome depends on one individual's behavior. In an interdependent group contingency, all members of the group must meet the criterion for reinforcement to be delivered. For the exam, always focus on who controls the outcome and whether reinforcement is individual or shared. Let's start with independent group contingencies. In this arrangement, each individual earns reinforcement based on their own behavior. All participants are exposed to the same criteria, but reinforcement is delivered independently. There is no dependency on peers, meaning one student's performance does not affect another's outcome. This system emphasizes individual accountability, even though it occurs in a group setting. This approach is ideal for environments where individual performance is paramount, allowing each participant to focus on personal achievement without external dependencies. Examples of independent group contingencies include systems where each student earns individual tokens for task completion. Another example is an individual homework reward system, where each student earns reinforcement based on their own performance. You might also see personal goal systems, where each learner meets their own target. The key feature is that reinforcement is delivered independently, even though all students are in the same environment. Exam tip: this is a group setting with individual outcomes. One of the biggest exam traps is assuming that a group setting automatically means an interdependent contingency. That is not true. You must always check whether reinforcement is delivered individually or shared. Even if all students follow the same rule, that does not mean the outcome is shared. So on the exam, always ask, is each person earning their own reinforcement? If yes, then it is an independent group contingency. Now let's move to dependent group contingencies. In this arrangement, the entire group's outcome depends on the behavior of one individual. This is often referred to as the hero procedure or an all-or-nothing system. One student's performance determines whether the group receives reinforcement. This type of contingency is often used strategically to motivate a specific target individual. Examples of dependent group contingencies include situations where, if a target student completes a task, the entire class earns a reward. Another example is when a teacher selects a mystery student and the group earns reinforcement based on that student's behavior. The key feature is that one individual controls the outcome for everyone. For exam questions, always look for that single point of control. Students often confuse dependent and independent contingencies. Here's the key distinction. In independent contingencies, each individual earns reinforcement separately. In dependent contingencies, one individual's behavior determines the outcome for the entire group. A common trap is assuming that if students are doing the same task, they are under the same contingency. Remember, same task does not mean same contingency. Now let's look at interdependent group contingencies. In this arrangement, all members of the group must meet the criterion in order for reinforcement to be delivered. This creates a shared outcome and requires cooperation among group members. It is often referred to as an all-or-none system because partial success does not result in reinforcement. Such a setup emphasizes group focus and collective effort, ensuring that success is a team achievement. Examples of interdependent contingencies include situations where all students must complete homework for the class to earn a reward, or the class average must meet a target criterion. Another example is a group behavior goal, where the entire team must meet a standard. The key feature is that everyone must meet the criterion, not just one or some members. This ensures collective responsibility and cooperation. A common mistake is assuming that most students meeting the criterion is enough. In interdependent contingencies, that is incorrect. All members must meet the criterion. On the exam, look for keywords such as all, each, or everyone. If even one person fails to meet the requirement, reinforcement is not delivered. When analyzing exam questions, ask yourself a few key questions. Who earns the reinforcement? Individuals or the group? Is the outcome shared or separate? Does one person control the outcome? Or must everyone meet the criterion? These questions help you systematically determine whether the contingency is independent, dependent, or interdependent. Here are quick rules you can use during the exam. If reinforcement is individual, it is independent. If one person controls the outcome, it is dependent. If everyone must succeed, it is interdependent. This simple decision process can help you quickly eliminate incorrect answer choices. In practice, each type of contingency serves a different purpose. Independent contingencies are best when you want to promote individual accountability and fairness. Dependent contingencies are useful when targeting a specific individual's behavior. Interdependent contingencies are effective for promoting teamwork and cooperation. As a BCBA, you must match the contingency type to your intervention goals and group dynamics. Group contingencies offer several advantages. They can efficiently reinforce multiple learners at once, maximizing instructional time and reducing staff effort. They also promote peer influence, where students encourage each other's behavior. Finally, they are highly scalable, meaning they can be applied across different settings and populations. However, group contingencies also have limitations. They can lead to peer pressure, which may increase anxiety for some individuals. There may be fairness concerns, especially if some might feel they are doing more work than others. Over-reliance on group contingencies may also reduce intrinsic motivation. Effective implementation requires clear rules, avoiding the common trap of ignoring social dynamics. Always consider how these contingencies impact different learners to ensure a balanced approach. On the BCBA exam, group contingencies typically appear in scenario-based questions. You will need to analyze subtle wording to determine the contingency type. Also search for keywords like if, then, each, all, and one. Compare and distinguish between contingency types, ensuring you understand the logic behind reinforcement delivery. The key is to focus on how reinforcement is delivered, not just the setting. Many exam questions are intentionally designed to be tricky. They may include multiple students, distractors, or irrelevant details. Your job is to focus on the reinforcement rule. A common trap is choosing the answer based on the setting rather than the contingency structure. Always return to the question, who controls the outcome? When implementing group contingencies, ethical considerations are important. Make sure you avoid creating unfair dependency where reinforcement depends on individuals who have limited control over their behavior. Minimize peer pressure by understanding social dynamics and their impact on motivation. Clarity in rules and reinforcement criteria is also essential, which allows to create a positive climate that fosters cooperation and support among group members. In real-world settings, group contingencies are used in classrooms, therapy groups, and behavior management systems. Group contingencies effectively manage behavior in classrooms by supporting behavior goals and efficiently handling multiple students. In group therapy, they guide social skill development and shape interaction patterns. For behavior management, they address challenging behaviors and build positive patterns. Implementation involves assessing, designing, implementing, and evaluating strategies to ensure success. This ensures that the intervention is both effective and ethical. To summarize, there are 3 types of group contingencies: independent, dependent, and interdependent. Independent contingencies reward individuals separately. Dependent ones hinge on a single member's performance, while interdependent require the entire group to meet a criterion. Exam questions often test your ability to discern these distinctions, focusing on who earns reinforcement and the shared nature of outcomes. So you must be able to analyze scenarios and apply contingency logic accurately. As you prepare for the BCBA exam, make sure you can confidently distinguish among these 3 types of group contingencies. If you want to practice with realistic scenario-based questions and strengthen your discrimination skills, you can try a free full-length BCBA mock exam at www.bcbmockexam.com. The more you practice applying these concepts, the more confident and accurate you'll become on exam day.